Hello everyone, welcome back to yet another video, and today, well, it's a bit different from my usual tech videos, and well, it's a bit more of a personal rig update. One, where I'm sort of informing you what's going on with that one, and two, well, taking a bit of a closer look at this one over here, because, well, turns out I know that a lot of people are actually interested, and I've never really gone over it, so why not, let's go ahead and open her up and show her off to the world, which I may regret doing at some point. But as for this one over here, we'll get to that after the intro. Alright then, so what's gone on with this one over here? Well, as you already know, I've been planning for quite a while to be upgrading to a 3950X. I made a big announcement about it quite a while ago. But, well, there's been a couple of issues. One, the CPU in my main rig, and it's starting to show signs of an early death. Constant blue screens, regardless of whether it's overclocked or it's stock. Rather than go ahead and faff about, get a new one, double check everything, I am simply pushing forwards my planned cycle, which means instead of being in 4 or 5 months down the line, I am upgrading, well, in a couple of weeks. So stay tuned for the big build log that's going to be going on over that. And as for this one's also going to be going through a couple of radical changes as well. She's going to be looking even more war-torn and battle-hardened than she already does. Over here we've got what used to be an MSI Nightblade MI. I got it off my brother about, probably best part of 5, maybe 6 years ago now, and well, for a long time it was my main PC. It was running a Pentium G3258, which is an overclockable Pentium, which is a bit weird. You know, part of the Devil's Canyon release, along with a GT740, is where I got my GT740 from. Around about this time last year, I was actually planning on upgrading this one, and things took a bit of a turn from what they were planned. I thought, okay, I'll get the best CPU I can for that socket, a 4790K. Guess where that one came from? I'll also get a GTX 1080. Guess where that one came from? But then I ran into a sort of issue of the power supply kicked in. And when I say kicked in, I mean completely died. Took out the motherboard with it. I'm lucky that the parts survived. It might explain why the 4790K is a bit prematurely aged. Motherboard and power supply gone in a proprietary build, which means sourcing a new power supply for this thing has been a nightmare. Sourcing a new motherboard for this thing, easy. Getting the motherboard to be compatible, not so easy. And also fault of the motherboard, no. It's because MSI decided to use some sort of mini ATX form factor on all of its cables, so rather than be the standard layout, which they were, to be fair, you know, and standard sizing, they were about half the usual size, which means you can't just plug in the front panel connectors on this into the inside. Well, it means that I've had to do a lot of rewiring this thing, tinkering about. It has been, well, I can't even put into words what has gone through this little PC here, but at the very least, it now works, and it's in a state where I can actually reuse the chassis, and I do like this chassis. It's just, there's a couple of issues with it, which we will get into. Well, I guess now, might as well start opening her up. Alright then, so here it is. Now, before this gets opened up, I do have to warn you beforehand. Those of you that like cable management, look away, because, oh boy, you're going to hate this thing. The problem with this PC, like I said, it's a bit of an unusual form factor, which means all the original parts for it, well, they are all custom built, and as you'll see in a minute, it does lead to some, well, not so much incompatibilities, but issues with trying to make stuff fit properly due to those said differences. Do a bit of an overview of what she's like on the inside. Well, on the back, obviously, you can see there's a nice cutout for getting to your motherboard, which is kind of surprising considering this is a bare bones system and the way that it was built. Warranty void for remove stickers everywhere, so why would they do that if it's obviously built for people to get into and actually build around? I don't know. Anyway, along the top here we've got our drive cage slots. There was originally a hard drive cage here, but as you'll see in a minute, there is no longer any space to actually have the cage itself, so I usually just use one of these to keep a hard drive, and it's, you know, pretty solid. Don't recommend doing this because if you have a particularly fragile drive, it's more than likely to get damaged with how much that can move around, but it's better than nothing. Up here we've got a top drive for either an SSD or a 2.5-inch hard drive. Now, avert your eyes if you are, well, sensitive to cable management because you're about to cry. So we're going to put this onto her side so we can see on the inside, and oh boy! Oh, those cables. They're terrible. And this has been cable managed as best as I possibly could. Now, the thing with the cable management on here and why it is so beyond goddamn terrible is because, like I said, the power supply isn't the power supply that was designed for this. The one that was designed for this is a 350 watt max, AC plus bronze unit, which is fine. But I use 500 watts, generally speaking, so that's sort of why it died and how I learnt the hard way. Don't cheap out on power supplies, ever. There we go. Nice little PCI lock there. Hopefully free up the PCI card here. See, we've got my GTX 480. It is really a spare graphics card, but hey, when I'm not actually away, it makes for a pretty decent graphics card on this system. Not to mention, if I ever have like a little LAN party, it's more than powerful enough to run games at 1080. Is that? Ooh. Oh boy, that needs a clean. Okay, so back inside, let's see what we've got. So we've got, well, a rather horrific mess of cables. So we've got the hard drive over here. That is my boot drive as well as everything else, because, well, that's the hard drive that originally came with this system, and hey, it's a decent enough hard drive. It's not slow at all. 100 megabytes a second, reads and writes. It's not brilliant, but it's still better than nothing. I tell you what, this is one thing that I do love about this case that I found out pretty early on, and I'm glad that I had this case to work with originally for this exact reason. All the screws in this case, with the exception of maybe 3 at most, are the exact same type. I think there's only a couple of spots where it's a different type of screw, and I think that's for the power supply, but that's because they need to be flush here, and you can't use these very nice little screws here because they've got a hex head on the top of them, and you can't really fit that flush against anything. I think there's one screw for the front panel. It's a very small one that goes straight into the plastic, so these aren't really ideal. But yeah, bar that, I think they use the exact same screw for every last part in this build. Got those screws undone, and we can take out the PCIe riser. Yes, this case actually has a riser, which means this entire slot here, which is the other reason why I don't want to use a second hard drive, this entire slot here basically can hold a graphics card. Which means, despite this being a very small case, it's only 10 litre, there are very, very few graphics cards that you cannot fit into this case, because you've got all the way down to the PCI slot. You've got plenty of room for ones that are extra tall, such as like the MSI GTX 1080, which I can confirm fits in this because I always use it. And you also have a lot of room for like particularly long cards. I think this goes up to about 33 centimeters in length, which is very nice. Anyway, so taking out the PCIe riser, because this is a board that I've had to source for it, I'm having to undo the PCIe lock, which is a bit of a pain. The original one doesn't have a PCIe lock for this exact reason, because it's a bit of a pain to get to. Just pull you off to one side, and yeah, this is the awkward thing. So, the way the cooling on this works is we've got a little cold plate down here that's connected with copper heat pipes to a heatsink here that then gets pushed out of a blower style cooler. If anything, this is essentially a really big version of what you'd get in a laptop, and it works brilliantly for this case. The problem with it is motherboard compatibility with this. Like, you don't often see many motherboards that are actually compatible. Even a CPU that can pull up to 100 watts will sit pretty comfortably below 70 degrees, even with that GTX 480 in there, and that kicks off a ton of heat, because remember, this is directly underneath it. So, that's kind of impressive. Anyway, what's to say about the motherboard now? Not much. It's a H81i, that's from MSI. It's a decent little motherboard. It's not got great I/O. The original motherboard that I did replace, well, this is actually its third motherboard. It started off with a B85, which was the original one that was in here. It was some sort of OEM board. Luckily enough, the H81 actually matches up with the CPU socket, so this is compatible. But I changed that out for, I think it was an Asus H87 Plus, I'm pretty sure it was. Which, granted, is a really, really nice piece of kit. It's just got one slight fatal flaw, and that was it sort of did, but sort of didn't die. But the H87 Plus, I don't know what it was, but after I went ahead and sprayed all this, something went wrong in the BIOS. I've tried to reset it 1,000,001 times, didn't work, so I just put the motherboard to one side, had to get a new one, which was massively disheartening, but what you know, you live and learn. Okay, and that is the cover off, and oh boy, that is filled with dust. Yeah, because I've been absolutely hammering both the systems lately, and I haven't had much time to clean them lately, and oh boy, yeah. Just get some paper towel or something and go ahead and give that a wipe down. Should have some around here somewhere. No, I don't. Okay, right, I will be back in a couple of minutes with some paper towel. Okay, well, I said paper towel, I'm just getting some blue roll, I don't know, it's just to wipe away some dust, so it'll be fine enough. But yeah, so this essentially is a huge laptop cooler, and it works pretty damn well. So going back to the issue of the motherboard, yeah, that's all my current issue. Now I have got plans to upgrade this once again, which means that in all likelihood I'm going to have to find a different cooling solution, and I do have an idea. Now, I want to know what you guys think, but I was thinking, right, instead of just say, trying to strap some sort of little air cooler. Now obviously there is nowhere to go ahead and put, say, an AIO, because can't put it through the front because there's no space there. You can't put it through the top because obviously you need access to these. You can't put it through the bottom because what I was thinking is Acertech, they've started to do really small ones, haven't they? They've got the 92mm one. Now I'm not thinking put it inside. No. What about putting the AIO outside? Now, obviously. Yeah, put it outside, you open it up to the elements and a couple of other issues that you can get, obviously leaving something like that outside, especially the the pipes getting caught on something. And then you've also got the issue of where would you route it through, but what I was thinking is, say, cut or Dremel out 2 holes here, or channels to slide some of the AIO's pipes into, and then clean out this pump here, air pipes going out here and going around and then feeding into the intake vent on this side for the graphics card. So one, it's getting extra airflow here. Granted, obviously it's going to be heated up a little bit from the factor it's cooling a CPU, but also it means that you're getting extra airflow, which is kind of needed because this case, as you can probably tell, it's a bit static. There's really not much airflow other than the graphics card. Your graphics card essentially acts as your intake fans, which isn't ideal in the slightest. It's like you may notice that these are somewhat iffy looking with tape and cable tied to hell over here. Because originally, when I went ahead and changed the power supply, I didn't know the motherboard was dead. Which means I tried to go ahead and cut it down and just use the original motherboard, which had a few extras, which means I didn't need as many cables, so I just cut them straight off. I had to since repair those cables. Yeah, don't do it the way that I've done it, please. You'll cause issues if you are not careful. And that's my nice way of saying, please don't kill yourself with power supply. Power supplies are dangerous, people. I was a fool. I succeeded in my tomfoolery, but that doesn't mean you will. Alright, that's not clean, but it's clean enough for government work. But I've had to rewire a power supply, which took forever. I have also apparently went ahead and clicked something open. Oops. I have also had to go ahead and rewire the front panel connectors, which I can tell you one thing: 3 hours to go ahead and find the correct combination for the power connectors. On which ones you. No, not so much that. Just trying to find the on and off switch, because none of the cables are labelled, obviously, because nobody, at MSI, for anybody would be lunatic enough to go ahead and open one of these out. They're probably thinking, oh yeah, we'll send it out like that, problem solved, nobody will ever touch it because they'll take one look and think, yeah, solve this for a game of soldiers, and leave it exactly as it is. That's probably what MSI intended, but as you can probably tell, what MSI intended and what I intend are two different things. So what's going to happen to this is also going to get a upgrade to Ryzen. But there is a bit of a twist. I'm not just going to upgrade to 3600 or something that would be honestly kind of reasonable and what you should go for in a case like this. No. Who said I did anything reasonable around here? I mean, you've seen what I've done on the channel so far. Being reasonable? Please, what's that? No. What I'm going to do is do that little AIO idea. I'll buy it at some point soon, and I'll do a video on modding this case to make it fit. And then we'll see if it works at all, because it's a bit of a risky move. At least it should make an interesting video. And then if it does work, well, then I can start on actually getting the parts ready for this one's upgrade. And this one, not upgrading to a 3950X, because I ain't paying out for two of those. One of them is expensive enough, two of them is insanity. But that doesn't mean I'm going cheap either. I am in fact going to be going for, there's a cable under here somewhere that's stuck, there it is. I'm in fact going to be going for either a 3700X if I can't get the AIO idea to work, or if it does work, there we go, nicely in there. If it does work, I'm going to be going for a Ryzen 9 3900, 12 core, which means even when I'm away, I'm essentially going to have almost the entirety of my main workstation's capabilities. I'm not sure if I'm going to go for 64 gigs or 32 gigs. 64 would be a bit insane in such a small space, not to mention 64 gig RAM sticks. 32 gig RAM sticks are expensive enough, and I'd need two of them. But I'm not quite sure yet. I will decide that closer to when this actually receives its little performance enhancers. Graphics card. Ugh. But it's still a bit, I'm not quite sure that is what's going to happen. It always comes down to what is actually possible and also what can I afford. So I might still end up with a 3700X. I will tell you this one. I am going for ASRock's Thunderbolt 3 capable ITX board. It's a really weird board. I'm hoping I can go ahead and do a video on it when I get it, because it's a really cool board. I mean, it's mini ITX. It's mini ITX. It's got full Thunderbolt 3 capability. X570, AMD. But here's the kicker. It doesn't have an AMD mounting bracket or slot. Despite having an AMD socket, it's actually set up for Intel mounting hardware. With Intel's mounting holes in that lot, and it's really, really weird. But it's like the only ITX motherboard that I know of on the market that is both AMD and Thunderbolt 3, which sort of forces my hand there. But it's kind of cool, eh? Having that much connectivity on such a tiny little chassis. Thunderbolt 3, Gen 4 PCI, M.2 slot, for a full M.2 SSD if you want, up to 64 gigs. It's a crazy little board, and I really want to go ahead and do a video on it. It's cool, and I think you guys might actually enjoy it. But we're coming up to closing this up and making sure she still works. It's a little bit. Does it still work after this? Because as you can see, it's a little bit, well, literally thrown together and repaired to hell. Seriously, this is a system that I was tempted to sell or even give to somebody, and then I was like, don't want to risk anybody getting hurt on this simply because of something I did, because granted I know it's safe, but I don't trust my own work on it because of how amateurish at best, dangerous at worst it is. It is a bit of a mixed bag. Oh, there we go. It's really compact. Let's grab the cover. There we go. Probably one of the few times where I've actually remembered which orientation it goes on in. Slide that forwards. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Yeah. Should I go with 64 gigs, 32 gigs? Do you think I'm going a bit too much on the AMD gravy train here? And how bad do you think my cable management is? Because this thing is a little bit of a monster. But I don't know, it's a weird one. It's a bit of a pig, really. Yeah, sort of like the M60. Yeah. Brilliantly powerful machine gun, but an absolute pig for maintenance and how it uses up stuff. This is sort of the same thing. It's ridiculously powerful. You know, 700 watt, 80 plus bronze power supply. I could have gone for 80 plus gold, but this one was expensive enough because it's one new. You know, capability for full Gen PCIe 16X, potentially up to Gen 4 when I upgrade. You know, full ITX support. It's just, for me, it's kind of crazy how much there is on such a tiny little board. You know, on such a tiny little case. You know, it's crazy, but it's mine. It's modded to hell. It's been painted. It's been resurrected 3 times over. But that's it. But well, I guess it's probably the end of this video. Me going on about this, how terrible it is. And well, I should probably go ahead and wrap this up. So that's my sort of little personal rig update for March. God, can you believe it? It's the end of March. Like, a week and a bit. So, anyway then. Like the video if you like it, dislike it if you dislike it. Any thoughts or questions, leave them down in the form of a comment down below. Any of the stuff that I've mentioned today, feel free to go ahead and leave a comment on. You know, judge my work as politely as you can, because I know this is terrible. But hey, it's fun. But yeah, like if you like, dislike if you dislike. Thoughts and comments, leave them down below. Don't forget to check out my Patreon, Facebook and Twitch pages. I would say I'd leave a link in the description for the stuff that I featured today, but well, I haven't really featured as much as shown off a lot of very bad ideas, so I'm going to leave that out. But yeah, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and notification bell for more content from me, staying up to date with this little personal rig, as well as the main editing rig over there and the upgrades to come in the near future. And well, as always, this has been the 117th Con, signing off. Have a brilliant day, folks, and I will catch you all in the next one. Until then, ta-ra!